All right, I'd like to call this Cleveland Heights City Council meeting to order. It is Monday, September 15th at 8:05. Sorry about that. Addie, would you call the roll?
Cobb. Larson.
Here.
Maddox.
Here.
Kuda.
Here.
Petrus.
Here.
Russell. Here. Posh.
Here.
All right, all members are here. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
Mr. President, I'd like to make two amendments to the agenda. We'd like to add Resolution 188 and Resolution 189 to the agenda, respectively. That is a budget adjustment as well as a process for and purchase of body-worn cameras to complete part of a purchase for a grant for our police department.
All right, thank you. That's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes.
Mr. President, and just
Yes.
for clarification, that is first reading for passage tonight.
Thank you. We have minutes from May 19th and from June 30th of this year. Any amendments to those minutes? Okay, then we'll consider those approved. We don't have any communications. I'm going to skip to departmental reports. And I understand Eric Elmney is here.
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, just didn't look left. Come on up, and we're anxious to hear. And I believe you have a slide presentation as well.
No, it's fine.
I think you're right.
Good evening, everybody. And, okay, let's go start with, bless you. Member of the council, Director Hannah, residents here. Tonight, we're going to explain a little bit of two of the major projects is going to be happening here in Cleveland Heights. And Addie is going to give me a, thank you, perfect. Without Addie, we couldn't do anything else here, so I know.
There's a bad memory.
Exactly on January 24th, 2025, we had this tragic fire on the intersection of Cedar and Lee. The apartment got burned to the ground. That was almost $67 million project, all the way to the smoke. 9 ladder fire truck were there to respond to this fire. And it took him all night, and I believe over 5 million gallons of water to put this fire down. It was a very tragic night. The next day, it was actually caked with ice, everything. And we got to give them, the fire department did a fantastic job because they fight all night with all this cold weather. And you see the 4th floor all the way to the down. And we are getting to this part, which we were doing into our investigation with the fire marshal of the state, which took almost 5 to 6 weeks. It was concluded as undetermined of the cause of the fire. And of course, we moved on and we started the demolition on March exactly. So demolition went very well. And I was in contact with engineers, structural engineers, to determine which part of this building it could be saved or we have to demolish everything. And the engineer's report came and they've notified me that the foundations are excellent condition. And that was a great news. And of course, you see here on this picture, the 2 elevator shafts. Of course, the color is black because of the smoke, but they were entirely intact and in great condition. And reconstruction started in July. The following photos were taken actually by some inspectors and of our department. And it showed us 3rd floor framing, which pretty soon we're going to start doing the 4th floor. Et voila. It is amazing, correct? What happened, what's going to be. Then we're gonna go to the project, probably the fourth floor framing is gonna be done by this coming month. And once they are done with the framing, they're gonna be continuing on the wiring pipes and the mechanical part, which we are hoping by end of this year or the beginning of the next year, the project will be done. We're gonna go to, I need Addie to give me a little bit of assistance here. Oh, there you go. So we are back to the main page. We're gonna go to our second project, which is Novelty Court Apartments. Of course, it's a brand new structure on Noble Road, and these pictures were taken on September 10, this last week. And brick in the ground, preparation for foundations, and of course, the elevator shafts here. I spoke with the superintendent on the site, and by September 22nd or 25th, the foundations are going to be starting, and then shortly after, it would be the framing. And so far, that's where we are right now with the Cedar and Lee and the Novelty Court. Then we have, since we are here, I'm going to give you a few more updates of unfortunate situation that happened on August 18, 2024. The Cedar Fairmont building facade parapet collapsed. That was over a year ago. And it was amazing that nobody got injured. You see my foot here just to show you the size and the scale of those rocks and those stones that came down. The fall it happened around 2 to 2:30 in the morning on the Sunday early morning. And of course, these pictures were taken the same morning around 8 o'clock. But of course, my colleague, Jim Strap, the fire department, he's always with me. And shortly after the collapse, of course, the engineers were there, and they had to do investigation what was the cause of the collapse. And they came with design for scaffolding to secure the building around it so the business could continue. And the new material is being built with, of course, technology and new science. They use fiberglass, believe it or not, that is being molded to look like a stone. And of course, these pictures were taken by inspectors in Cleveland Heights, and shows how all the materials are being mounted again and rebuilt to make sure it's secure. And of course, these pictures were last week. That's what it looks now. And you look at all this part here. It's amazing how the technology can create historic parts. And exactly the same time last year, we had another unfortunate situation with Mayfield, which we were lucky as well that nobody got injured. That was on Mayfield Road, the same scenario, facade parapet collapse. It was on 9/11/2024. And you saw it in the news, I believe. And the collapse was a different reason. On this one, there was poor rehabilitation or construction and lack of maintenance as well. And
So this is right between Noble and Warrensville
correct.
on Mayfield.
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, these pictures were taken last week. That's what it looks now.
That's nice.
The great part about this section, when you arrive from South Euclid, I was driving, I was so proud just to be in Cleveland Heights. The first shopping center is being remodeled, exactly the facade, and of course, this is the next one. It gives you a good impression once you enter Cleveland Heights. It looks, you enter a different municipality entirely, and looks great. They are working on the sidewalk as we speak right now to pour new concrete on the sidewalk, and from that to this, so. And I think as far as my knowledge, I'm going to wrap it up now. I've never seen in my career within 6 months to see 2 parapet collapse and 1 giant apartment building catching fire. And it was a lot for our municipality. But I think it happens for a reason. It shows we are strong and we can rebuild it.
No, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You guys are doing good work. I have a couple questions, and we'll see if my colleagues do as well. Security at these sites, like especially, obviously Cedar Lee, Meadowbrook, and now that Nobility Court is, moving forward. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like?
Absolutely. So according to my request and the fire department, they're going to have a fire watch 24/7. So that's a great news because if something happens, somebody's going to be on the site, especially after hours when the construction is done and all the workers are out of the site. And that's how we're going to handle it.
Is that a person or cameras or both?
Both.
Okay.
And of course, it's going to be a professional, not just somebody who was be hired on temporary agency.
Okay.
A professional person who's going to be from the company that they're going to be watching the building constantly.
Appreciate that. Councilwoman Larson?
Thank you, President Kuda. Do you have any update on the Taylor Tudor project?
Yes, actually, they got it inside entirely, and now they're into the second phase of rehabbing inside. The whole exterior is going to be conserved as historic looking exactly, and which I'm excited to see in this coming phase. Actually, it's going to look great.
Mr. President.
Is there also a roof replacement on Taylor Tudor?
A part,
Partial?
not all of it. Correct.
Right. Councilman?
Thank you. With regard to the the professional who will be on site 24/7, is that an expense that the city will have to cover?
No,
Is the developer covering that?
that is correct.
Great. Thank you.
Right. Other questions? Mr. Elmany, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, let me get my glasses on here. So now we're to public comment. We have 36 speakers. The first, we do legislative items only, and then we do general public comment. Because there are 36 speakers, we're going to have to limit the speaking time to 1.5 minutes. I apologize for that, but there's really no way to do 2 hours of speaking during this time. So go ahead and we'll start with legislative items.
I actually don't have any for legislative items, so. Aaron Lamner?
And when you come up, and there's the timer right there, you'll hear a beep, beep, beep when it's over. Say your name and the street you live on. Thank
Sure.
you.
When should I begin?
Yeah, you can go.
Aaron Bishop Park. Now, what actually encouraged me to be here was watching Charlie Kirk get assassinated for encouraging young people to be involved in public life and public discourse. So that inspired me to take action on an issue that was ongoing for years. And that's the fact that our public places for our streets, our park benches, our public in front of our public schools, they're all painted with flags that don't represent everyone. So we take tax money from everyone and we have flags that represent a specific group. So my question is, if we're taking money from firefighters, we're taking money from teachers, from parents, from old people, from young people, from religious to secular, every group that there is, why don't we have a flag that represents all of them? And it's not that these groups don't have a flag. There's one flag that represents all these people, and that's the flag right behind you, the American flag. And I think if you're going to take taxpayer dollars, you're going to take money from every person over here, money money from everyone, and you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars not to fix the potholes in our roads, but to paint flags, and it should at least be a flag that represents all of us. And it's such a humble request, like to say that if you're taking all our money, you should use it for all of us and not just some people. If something like that can't be honored, it suggests that we're not actually a government of the people, but a government for specific people. And that's what I'm here today to ask. Thank you.
Sarah Thomas?
Hello, councils. We've been here before. It's been a year. My nephew's been gone a year. My name is Sarah Thomas. Yellowstone is the road. Christian Tyson's, I'm his aunt. My family has called Cleveland Heights home for 40 years. We are a 3-generation Cleveland Heights family. And we're here because it's been a year. Christian had just turned 18. He was not an adult. He was not an 18-year-old man like some of the news coverage has said. He was in the middle of a mental health crisis. His fathers and sisters did the right thing. They called you all for help. But what they got instead was horror. Shots, 34 shots in a residential neighborhood, 10 feet from the neighbor's house, could have killed anybody. That's what your police department did within minutes of showing up. Council members, this was not an accident. Most of you all have seen the body cam footage, the ones that didn't accidentally get cut off, of course. This was a systematic failure, and it is one that you all now have the power and the responsibility to confront. In the past, when we were here, we demanded answers. The mayor blamed you all, he blamed the police, you all said you all didn't have any power because the mayor and the police, that power has now been consolidated. The excuse is gone. The mayor has been recalled. Councilman Kuda, you will now or soon serve as interim mayor. And Councilman Russell and Petrus, you're not just members of the body, you're asking for the voters to trust you as their next mayor. That means that there is no one left to hide behind. The responsibility is yours. Right now, in this room, you are on the hook for what happens next. The Cleveland Heights Police Department had grant funding, programs, and training protocols for responding to people and incidents just like this who are in crisis. They had resources meant to prevent this exact outcome, but those were ignored. Instead of using de-escalation, they chose violence. Instead of preserving life, they ended it. This should not have happened anywhere, but especially not here in Cleveland Heights. Not the Cleveland Heights that we all know. I know some of these other folks might be new, but we all know that we're not. We've been here 40 years. Some of you all have as well. We demand accountability. We demand investment in real community safety. We demand that the officers live in this city. And that's what I'm going to be mainly pushing for the next year. I want the same way it was when I was growing up and we always saw the police cars outside of their house because those people live there. My dear Officer Mark from University Heights, I could see him in Macy's when I'm 30 and he remembers who I am from the 5th grade. That's what I would like to see. I wanted to reflect the diversity of Cleveland Heights. We demand that this council and the mayor prove that Cleveland Heights values are more than just words. Christian deserved better. The family deserved better. The people of Cleveland Heights deserve better. We will not stop until there's justice for him. And we will not stop until the city lives up to the values that the generations of Cleveland Heights families like mine, built. Because we all know Cleveland Heights is as good as it is because we've learned how to work together here. We're not like these other cities that we see on the news. We all know this. You all are reaping directly the benefits of people who can work together. That's where the affluentness comes from. That's where all of our progressiveness comes from. That's where all of our harmony comes from. That's the reason why our kids can go to school with one another. And we don't see, I've never had my nieces and nephews come home and talk about they were called out of their names. I had never been called an N-word until I left Cleveland Heights at 18 and went to college. Never even faced racism until then. But that's because we've all learned how to work together, and you have let these outsiders come in, get our tax dollars, and be on your employment roll. And they're shooting and killing our children. And we both know that the state isn't going to do much. We're still fighting them. But you all now, since you all have done what you all have done with the mayor, not my business, but you all have consolidated your power. You have no one left to stand behind. We want to see what you're going to do in the next 90 days.
Thank you, Sarah.
Myra Orenstein. Myra Orenstein.
Myra Orenstein, Euclid Heights Boulevard. I came here expecting to celebrate that Noble Merchants were finally getting money that we've worked towards for 5 years. I had met with Councilman Russell 5 years ago to start to get Noble a transformation project going. And we thought it was happening. And last Thursday, the meeting went through. We left the meeting 12:30. It was supposed to be on the agenda for you to be voting for our budget. It's not on the agenda. We're disappointed. We don't know why this stopped. And so at some point, I would like someone to address this because there are a number of people here from Noble right now who are incredibly disappointed, as am I. Thank you.
Antoinette Mohammed.
Good evening. My name is Antoinette Mohammed, owner of Salon Productions on Noble Road. I am here because I thought that we were coming here to celebrate, but I just found out that we're off the agenda also. I've been on Noble since I've been in 11th grade. I'm 38 now. I've owned my business for 14 years. I've just been on Noble for a very long time, and I need to see some changes. We've worked very, very hard on this business association since January. We've been coming to these meetings. We've been showing up. We've been gathering together outside of here, all of the merchants on Noble. And I don't understand why we were taken off the agenda tonight. So we need some answers. Thank you so much.
Well, I know there might be more speakers on this, so just let me briefly say, the legislation is due a week before the time that we even get it. And this by no means, I'm talking to all the Noble people here, and I'm one of them. So is Vice President Russell. I mean, this is going to happen when the law director gets the information and that he needs to put together the legislation. So don't take this as that it didn't happen over the weekend as that it's not going to happen. Just say that. Go ahead.
Lee Barbie.
My name is Lee Barbie. I live at 1048 Hereford. I've been a proud resident of Cleveland Heights since 1968. I come here today to speak to you about an incident that happened Sunday, September 7th, at a block party on Delaware. I was invited by my brother, Joseph Jordan, to speak with neighbors about the proposed charter amendment. While sitting at a table, I was approached by Councilman Tony Kuda, who told me I was too loud and that I need to watch what I was saying. I was also told that I could not look you, Tony Kuda, in the eye. Let me be clear, Mr. Tony Kuda. I hope I'm not being too loud. I'm a homeowner. I'm a father. I'm a retired military officer with over 20 years of service. I'm a concerned citizen. I have earned the right to speak freely and to look persons in the eye. I have looked enemies in the eye overseas. My father, Lee Barbie Sr., a Korean War veteran, taught me to stand tall and never back down to intimidation. I have spent the last 13 weeks in a wheelchair, barely able to walk, and yet I show up to engage with my community. And that's not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. Am I being too loud now? I take offense of being silenced, especially as a Black man who has dedicated service and engagement, civil engagement. I hold a degree in political science from Kent State University, where I've studied Machiavellian. I understand power. I understand when it's being misused. And I was called names online by Cleveland Heights chatter, liar, cheater, disgusting horseman, simply for using my First Amendment right to vote.
Thank you, Mr. Barbie. Just for the record.
President of
Mr. Barbie,
Tony Kuda
Mr. Barbie
has not earned the right to silence me. If you want to look me in the eye, I am right here. I will not be intimidated and I will not be silenced. And I will continue to advocate for my city. And I do expect an apology, an official apology.
Well, you did get an apology from me.
I got a text message.
Right, you did. You got a text. Hold on.
I'm
You
sorry for the engagement.
Mr. Barbie,
That was not an
you had your saying. I just want to say that At no time did I tell you, at absolutely no time did I tell you not to speak. That never happened, and it never will happen. I'm glad for that. And as far as looking me in the eye, I said I was glad you were looking me in the eye. The only thing I asked you to do, I asked one thing, and that was to tell the truth when you're on Facebook. That was it. That was the only sentence I said. Go ahead, call the next person.
Jose Quiles.
It'll be a friendlier meeting, I promise. I just want to take a second to voice my support for the Noble Neighborhood and the Noble Business Alliance project. We can be so much more than we are. As time passes, we continue to lose more opportunities and more people that make the struggling community so great. The businesses of Noble have the willpower, we have the community, we have the drive, we have the vision, we have the traffic, we have the potential. We have the people in this community that are willing to step up and make this an economic powerhouse. Everything that helps our struggling businesses helps the communities themselves. Small businesses are the identity of the communities they represent. At this point, we're fighting for scraps. Let's be serious. This should be an easy win for the administration, the council, and those who have the responsibility of being caretakers of this city. Do the right thing and move this project forward and do some good for the people that make this community so great. And thank you.
Alicia Vanier.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Vanier. Myself and my husband own properties on Noble Road. And I just want to start off by thanking everyone on the Planning and Development Committee, as well as City Council as well. I also want to thank the employees. The employees are what keeps the city running. So I want to thank them for their service. I just wanted to come up here. I'm also here to support the Noble Road project as well. And each and every one of you on this panel, you have a vision and a mission that you are obligated as your civil duty. And I just want to remind you guys of that. Cleveland Heights is a place driven by a diversity of people and thoughts, where creativity is nurtured and valued and inspiration born from embracing our differences. We are a community recognized for its safe and desirable neighborhoods, thriving commercial districts, and sustainable quality of life, where residents and visitors alike enjoy an array of recreational, cultural, and social amenities. Your mission is to protect all things that matter most to our residents and visitors, to ensure a safe and desirable community through the delivery of excellent services in a responsive, open, sustainable, and fiscally responsible manner by caring and competent professionals. There's a lot of key words in here that I don't see happening on Noble Road, where it talks about safety and desirable neighborhoods and thriving commercial districts. I just want to remind you guys of your civil duty. That's not happening for us on Noble Road. And I'm looking forward to this coming forward and being on the top agenda. So that way you can remember what the vision and the mission of Cleveland Heights is, as well as the organizational values of honesty and integrity, service-minded competence, and information communication, innovative teamwork. Those are your duties. Make it happen.
Gavin Vanier. Gavin Vanier.
I'm my wife's folks.
Okay. Blanche Valenci.
Good evening, council, members of the community. My name is Blanche Valenci. I live on Yorkshire Road, have for nearly 50 years. And I represent the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland, the Cleveland Heights University Heights chapter. In this busy fall election season, our league chapter will present 2 more candidate and issue forums relevant to the voters of Cleveland Heights. On Wednesday, September 17th from 6 to 7 at the Community Center, 1 Monticello Boulevard, the two candidates for mayor will answer written questions from the audience. Immediately following, from 7 to 8 p.m. on September 17th at the Community Center, there will be a panel that will present ballot issue 7, the Cleveland Heights Charter Amendments, and they will take written questions as well. The forum will be live streamed and recorded for viewing on the League's YouTube channel. And to cap off the voter education offerings, a candidate forum for Cleveland Heights University Heights Board of Education will be presented at the Community Center on Thursday, September 25th from 6 to 8, where candidates will appear, make their statements, and take written questions. We hope to see many of the engaged voters watching tonight at these forums. And if you cannot make it, we welcome you to our online offerings. Thank you.
Rod Rush. Rod Rush. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
Good evening, council, residents. Cleveland Heights has a accountability problem. There is corruption in this police department. That's real talk. I have 2 questions for our mayoral candidates. One for Ms. Russell and one for Mr. Petrus. Ms. Russell, you said you want to be mayor of Cleveland Heights. What would you do differently than Mayor Sarin did? And how will you prevent the kind of systemic failures that cost Christian his life? You represent neighborhoods that have long felt neglected, including Noble. What specific investment will you commit to making in Black and brown communities to show you will not abandon them? Mr. Petrus, you are asking voters to trust you with the leadership of the city. What concrete steps will you take to ensure that officers in Cleveland Heights are properly, I want to say that again, properly trained and held accountable in responding to mental health crisis? You have emphasized safety in your platform. Do you believe safety comes from more policing? As it is currently practiced, or from reforming how police interact with residents, especially those in crisis? Those are my questions. Thank you.
Jerry Bolton Pitts.
Wait a minute, are they going to get a chance to answer?
Not now. This is not a question and answer session.
I'm sorry, who was there?
Jerry Bolton Pitts. Oh, wait.
Wait a minute, they're not going to get a chance to answer what he just asked?
We usually just listen at this point, but I'm sure that if the two
Rush,
people.
I could send you
No,
an
I understand
email,
that,
like,
but
afterwards.
it's up to them if they want to wait until afterwards. And, Vice President Russell said she prefers to wait till afterwards.
I'll wait until afterwards.
Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry Bolton Pitts.
Jerry. Oh.
Good evening.
So say your name and your address, please, or your street, the street you live on.
I got it. My name is Jacqueline Remmer. I am a resident on Monticello, and I'm a business owner on Noble. I moved here in December 2014 and relocated my business here to Noble shortly thereafter. Since I have been a resident and business owner here, I have been approached many times for my thoughts and input regarding this area and how it could be rejuvenated. To which my sentiments echo most of the people who live here, that there needs to be significant financial investment towards the beautification and infrastructure of the Noble Road area. Noble is a major gateway into Cleveland Heights, and the city needs to do its part to help make these changes. There have been many attempts to organize businesses within the Noble area in the past, but nothing more galvanizing than this most recent attempt. The vision that the Noble Area Business Association has for Noble Road area will be a great benefit to not only the residents and businesses, but in general to the city. But since we have started, we have been met with nothing but hesitation, pushback, flat-out stonewalling, and a clear lack of communication, evident by the events that have taken place behind the scenes since the last committee meeting of the Planning and Development Committee. Do I think that the members of this city council understand the need to enhance the Noble area? Absolutely. But until members of this council can look past who gets the credit for moving forward with the funding and establishment of the business association and do what's right for the city, I feel like we will remain at a standstill. I am sure that this will all come to pass and we will eventually get our funding. But in my opinion, no matter who introduces and signs this legislation, the person that I am going to thank for her dedication to Noble since day one is Councilwoman Davita Russell. Thank you.
Dinette Caldwell.
She's yielding her time.
Micah Vincent.
I don't,
Micah Vincent.
unless he's outside.
Okay. India Dobbins. Vincent Metlock.
Good evening. My name is Vincent Medlock. I'm from East Overlook. This is the second city council meeting that I've attended, and the first one was a half hour late. And unfortunately, I believe we should do better.
I agree with that.
For a year, when we raised concerns, the mayor blamed the council and the council blamed the mayor. That excuse is gone now. Each of you now has or soon could have the highest authority in this city. What specific policy changes will you commit to implementing to ensure no family ever experiences what ours has? Cleveland Heights has accepted grant funding and partnered in the First Call Mental Health Co-Response Program. Why was it not used in Christian's case? And will you commit to requiring a co-responder on every crisis call going forward? Thank you for your time.
Jacqueline Remmer.
Oh, right.
Jean Middleton.
My name is Jean Middleton, Rossmore Road. Christian was my nephew. When officers fired 34 shots into a residential neighborhood, it was not only Christian who was endangered, but every neighbor on that block. What policies will you enforce to guarantee that officers follow time, distance, and cover protocols before resorting to deadly force? There was a video that I saw after this happened. And in that video, I heard a police officer say, "I'm going to get my AK. It's out there." I can't remember whether it was a police officer's video, but it's out there somewhere because I saw it and I heard it. And I'm like, why is that okay? Ever. Like, why is that okay?
Patrick Freed. Patrick Freed. Joseph Jordan and Penny Jordan.
Okay. Good afternoon, Council, Cleveland Heights. We are Joseph and Penny Jordan. We live on Delaware Drive in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. On September 7th, my wife and I were sitting at the table when President Kuda approached and introduced himself to Mr. Barbie. Mr. Barbie responded, "I know exactly who you are. I am Lee Barbie." And he asked him why he was there. And he said he was invited there to talk about the upcoming charter amendments. I invited him there. At that point, I heard something that shocked me. The council president raised his voice and said, "You need to keep your mouth shut." Now, I'm accepting that he's going to deny it. That's all right. But I'm going to ask him to look into his soul and talk about what he did. Because at that time, I stood up and said, "Excuse me." And that was all I said. And he moved on. During that same block party, my wife and I spoke to Councilman Cobbs and talked about issues. We also spoke to candidate Hong and talked about issues. No disrespect to Council President Kuda. There are issues that may get you raised. And this is what I would suggest. You are representing the city of Cleveland Heights. I would like to ask that you exercise a bit more decorum. I would also like to ask that you give an apology. And I understand that you said you sent him a text. So I hope that both yourself and Mr. Barbie can work out whatever issues you have. And that would be in the best interest of the city of Cleveland Heights. Thank you.
Mike Schuman. Mike Schuman.
Hi, my name is Layla Turkawi, but I'll be speaking on behalf of Mike Schuman and the person after him, Sal Turkawi. I'm here today on behalf of Premier One Auto and Noble Food Deal on Noble Road. Me and my father are the owners of Premier One Auto. We're located on 2233 Noble Road, and the food deal is across the street from us. I just want to briefly talk about the quality of our location on Noble Road and what we provide for the community. Premier One Auto has played a vital role in improving Noble Road for over 30 years through the quality and consistency of our service to the community. As a locally owned mechanic shop, we provide essential automotive repairs that has contributed to keeping the safety of our community members on the road for the past 30 years, to my knowledge. We have owned the shop, me and my father, for the past 10 years, and we have worked very hard to be where we are today. Regardless of what happened during COVID, and the struggles we went through to keep the shop alive. We're here today to request to be considered as part of the Noble Business Alliance project due to the valuable service we provided and to the continued commitment to our community members. I just want to mention that we've been in very close contact with the community members. We've been coming to the meetings, keeping up to date with all the updates on the project and what we can provide to the community if we're considered for the Alliance project. Same thing for Noble Food Deal. Thank you.
Stanley Jackson.
I yield my time to Sarah Thomas Peterson.
These questions are for soon-to-be interim mayor, Tony Kuda. You will still soon have the mayor's gavel, not just a council seat. What is the first executive action you will take to address the crisis of trust within our police department? Because this started long before Christian passed. This Christian passing was just a cumulative effect of all the corruption in your police department. It was just the worst case. You have positioned yourself as someone who values accountability, clearly. How will you ensure transparency around police discipline and the release of information in cases like Christian while you have the power and no one to hide behind?
I do want to say something.
Okay.
I go to Cleveland Heights High School, and I see officers that were there that night at the school.
This is Genesis Christian's sister.
Yeah. I think that when people say it was a year ago, it really takes away how much it hurts to even talk about it now. I didn't want to say anything because I knew I was going to get up here and cry, but I think that is very important. Christian wasn't just 18, he had so much life to live. I go to school every day and I see officers that sat up there, surrounded me after they shot my brother, and then dragged me and my sister here to answer questions. I just think that it's so dehumanizing to see that today in 2025, Black kids can still be shot down, and then the officers come and work at our school.
Yeah. Trauma on top of trauma, constantly.
Shame.
Sam Abdelkader. Sam Abdelkader. Graham Ball.
Good evening, Council. My name is Graham Ball, and I live on Bradford Road. I'm sorry, I want to start by thanking the friends and family of Christian Thomas who came out to speak tonight. Your words are very powerful and are deeply heard. I stand with you all in your grief and your rage, and I hope that you receive the justice, the reform, and the closure that you are seeking.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight to talk about another important issue, which is the proposal to provide attorneys to residents who are detained by ICE in our neighborhoods. I attended my first Cleveland Heights for Immigrants' Rights meeting yesterday, and I was struck by how impressively organized it was. It was a truly authentic grassroots movement that I have not seen in the city since Safer Heights. The training was really excellent. They had an impressive depth of knowledge and a commitment to action. And so, yeah, what they're asking for you, I think, is really reasonable. I think we can afford it. I know some folks are saying, well, why don't we spend money on other things too? And we could also do that, right? But don't use other things that need to be done as an excuse not to do the things that your residents are asking for. Thank you for your time.
Kate Stanley.
Kate Stanley, Hyde Park. I'm here tonight with Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. I was here on August 18th to speak to the urgency of this council to take up the proposal for legal counsel for immigrant residents. Just last week, the Supreme Court granted an emergency stay application This stay enables ICE to continue stopping and detaining individuals based on their apparent race, speaking in accented English, being present at a location where an undocumented immigrant is known to gather, and working in construction or landscaping. As a resident of Cleveland Heights, I hope that this council will choose to absorb the costs required to extend due process protections to its residents. I hope that this council will dare to not be complicit with a presidential administration that is using the legal system to bully and punish its enemies. We urge you to not delay. Any delay in this legislation is a delay that our community cannot afford. Thank you.
Shay Singh. Shay Singh.
Good evening, Council. Shay Singh. I live on Euclid Heights Boulevard. Just want to acknowledge the deep lack of safety that is being expressed tonight of residents in this community. This is something that for years has been talked about. We had a racial justice task force about it. Before that, Safer Heights had a run of trying to call for accountability and for a true sense of safety that is community informed and is trauma informed. I think that is something that is being called for very clearly tonight. And I hope it's something that is being heard by folks considering running for higher office or considering staying in this office. I hope you all decide to give yourself time to actually do this full time, because you clearly need to. This is not something that we can just do with a part-time council. Cleveland Heights deserves a full-time government. And if there's a deep demand to hold the mayor accountable, then you all should be doing it full-time and paid at least as much total as the mayor's office is, so that you can be dedicating time to this city and the needs of its residents. Hearing about how we have commitments to work on potential ordinance and then getting emails counter to the fact afterwards, it's entirely disappointing. And we hope that you'll take the time to focus on the issues of safety that people are calling for deeply and with trauma and pain that is being incurred. And this is a chance to lead. I hope you'll take it. Thank you.
Charles Howard.
Hi, my name is Raul Montejo. I live on Princeton Road. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, Charles Howard.
Hello, my name is Charles Howard, and I'm a business owner. So I'm here to support the Noble Road project. I just wanted to say I've been in Cleveland Heights for a very long time, since 1990, and I started on Cedar, then I went to South Taylor, then I went to Lee Road, and then I ended up on Noble Road for the past 25 years. And there's a big difference. Anytime these areas changed in the city of Cleveland Heights kept the Cleveland Heights pride and reinvested in that area, keeping it thriving and safe. But Noble Road gets nothing but a constant decline and not such a safe area to be in. I just wonder, when are y'all gonna treat Noble Road like it belongs to Cleveland Heights and not East Cleveland Heights? Because the more you ignore it, the worse it becomes. Why is it when y'all look at these other areas or parts of the city, you look at it with the naked eye and you see it needs attention and you put things in motions, but when it comes down to Noble Road, you turn a blind eye. So that's it. Much love and prayer. And one more thing I wanted to say. I know a lot of people are going through a lot of things in here, and much love and prayers to y'all, for real.
Carly Whitaker.
Good evening, Council. My name is Carly Whitaker. I live on Sylvania Road in the Noble neighborhood, but I'm here speaking as a member of Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. I want to first thank you you took this up at the Committee of the Whole meeting on August 18th, and we had a lot of people here to speak that evening. And at that meeting, Gail Larson and Anthony Maddox, thank you for agreeing to help push this forward. We want to see some action and movement forward on the legal counsel for immigrants proposal. Jim Prosh, thank you for I know you chair the Public Safety Committee, and we hope that we're able to make a presentation to your committee soon. We need to see some movement forward on this proposal. And we understand that there's a lot of transition going on in the government right now, but we need to see some action and moving forward. So thank you.
Quentin Yoder.
Hello, City Council. My name is Quinn Yoder. I'm here representing Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. I talked to you guys previously on the 18th. I'm just here to reiterate the importance of the legislation that we're trying to pass. Community safety is very important and it's relevant to your community members. I understand that there's a lot of change going on in government, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to and talk to all of us about our proposed legislation. It really means a lot. I appreciate you guys giving your verbal support. That also means a lot, but it doesn't stop there. Verbal support is important and I appreciate it, especially given your time constraints, but we also need action. A community that is unable to protect its most valuable members, I just don't see the point. Every day that we wait is another day that community members are not protected, and safety is important. Thank you.
Raul Montego.
All right, now it's my turn, my bad. My name is Raul Montejo. I live on Princeton Road here in the Heights. I'm also here with Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. I'll try not to repeat too much, but the point is that we are going to keep putting the pressure on. We got some verbal commitments, and we don't want to wait till next year to get movement on this. We want to see movement now. So the right to counsel is the #1 priority. I think none of us are safe until all of us are safe. And we need to be proactive about protecting our citizens, because today it's immigrants, but tomorrow, who knows? So we'll be back. Thanks.
Kimberly Smith.
Hello, Kimberly Smith, Yellowstone Road. In the case of Christian Tyson Thomas, the body cam videos that were released never actually shows him exiting the house, nor holding a weapon. So what is shown is an officer in a neighborhood's yard, or in a neighbor's yard, yelling, "There he is, he has a gun," but the video does not visually confirm that. So it then took nearly a full year to release the BCI report. So these gaps in transparency are unclear. There's delayed accountability and unanswered questions, leaving the family and communities in pain. So I asked you today, will you commit to establishing a civilian-led police review board with full investigative and disciplinary authority, not just advisory power, to ensure true oversight when officers use deadly force? And will you support naming it in honor of Christian Thomas so that his name stands as a permanent call for justice, accountability, and change in this city?
Sarah Spangler. Sarah Spangler. Edgar Mitchell.
Good evening, all Heights residents. Good evening, Council. It's hard for me to come up and say what I want to say after listening to the things that I heard tonight, because there's nothing I can say that can equal the loss of a life by a young person or an old person like me or anybody, because that is something that you cannot bring back. And when it's gone too soon, it's gone. I know because I have grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I have lost 3 of my grandsons. But I have came here the last 3 or 4 meetings on something that I've been talking about for the last 29 years. I've lived in Cleveland Heights since 1979, and I raised my children here. They went to school here, grandkids and my kids and great-grands. So, but you have a hell of a job, council. You have a hell of a job you're gonna have to do. And actions speak a lot louder than words. So you're gonna have to do and bring it in reality. You know, you can one of you ain't gonna be able to do it. It's gonna take all of y'all and the ones that's not sincere about it, and get the hell out the way and let the ones that's sincere about it do what have to be done. You know, I didn't come up here to preach to y'all because, you know, I learned something a long time ago. You can pray all you want to God, but if you don't get up off your AWS and do what gotta be done, it ain't gonna be done. You know, and that's a fact. But anyway, at 1062 Neelaview, where a tree was planted 29 years ago, and we've been fighting with Cleveland Heights for the last 20 years to remove the tree because we knew the roots of the tree had begun to destroy the sanitary sewer and also the one that's the storm sewer. All those pipes have been destroyed, and they're gonna have to be ripped out and replaced. And I need Cleveland Heights to stand up and help me do that, because that's a $30,000 or $40,000 job, and I don't have that kind of money to pay for doing that. But anyway, that's all I have to say tonight. I will be here every night and try to, you know, put my input and try to do what we can do. I'd like to say to everybody that's here, let's try to help each other as much as we can. You know, give somebody a shoulder to cry on, because it hurt me to my heart to hear this young lady and different ones talking about what has happened, you know, to individuals that should be alive that's not. And there's a lot of stuff going on in Noble and wherever. Let's try to help each other, okay, council? Okay?
Alec Popovker. Alec Popovker. No one? Okay. Oh.
Good evening, Councilman. Prophet Isaiah, Ishayahu says, Zion shall be redeemed by law and her captives by justice. There is a law that's supposed to be protecting the Jewish people now. It was a law enacted after World War II. International Court of Justice was bidden with a task to prevent another genocide from ever happening again. And as you might have heard, they came up with a clear realization that it didn't start with the bullet holocaust that my own family perished from. And it didn't start with the gas chambers. It started with propaganda. It started with spreading blood libels against the Jews that people either believed because they didn't know any better, or they believed them because they hated the Jews. You know, we do have racist people in the world. And that racism, that propaganda was completely normalized to the point where our own mayor, while campaigning against his recall, was saying things like Israelis are starving children to death, and they're committing war crimes, and they're stealing land. So me, as a Zionist Jew, like most Jewish people are Zionists. Zionist means Jewish rights. The Jews have equal rights. That's what. If you're not a Zionist Jew, you're lost. You don't believe in your own rights. And there are such a thing. There's tokenized Jews who think that if they go along with the people that are killing us, they're going to survive a little longer. So very often we have politicians that say, oh, I spoke to a Jew and they said it's fine. It's not fine. We're not killing children. We're not terrorists. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Israel is the only place Gay people are safe in the Middle East. Israel is the only place Muslim people are safe in the Middle East. Women, children. We do not marry little girls like most of Islamic occupation from North Africa to India. There's no freedom there. There's no freedom for Kurdish people. The genocide against the Yazidis kind of just went. Amazigh people, do they have a right to speak a language that's not Arabic? Do Persians have a right to speak Parsi and not Farsi, which is the Arabic version that's forced upon them? We don't talk about that. But it's easy to talk about the Jews. Why? Because nobody's afraid of the Jews. It's very easy to talk about the Jews. But, I'm asking this council, while I've heard promises before of some task force being established to educate people so that socialists, apparently, like we have here, who care so much about other issues and align themselves with the worst tyrants, the worst terrorists in the world, can't claim stupidity and ignorance as they're doing. And are educated. Where's the education? Where is the education? The Genocide Convention, the punishment for spreading these kind of things is 5 years in jail and $500,000 fine. This was ratified by the United States Congress. The punishment after October 7th is death. Death by hanging, because you're complicit in genocide. We have the mayor who is guilty of a capital punishment, and we are not adopting the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism to educate the people of Cleveland Heights to stop spreading blood libels against the Jews. And that's enough. So I ask, as an emergency measure, as we've done previously for other minorities, that education be enacted immediately to teach Cleveland Heights population about Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East, not killing children, trying to save our people, our hostages, from people that love murdering not only us, but anybody that's not like them, celebrated 9/11. And lastly, I want to say, may God rest the soul of Charlie Kirk, who spoke the truth as he knew it and debated it. And this is what we need here. We need people to speak in a polite way and debate their different opinions. And until we have that, we're going to have a Holocaust right here.
Sheila Keller.
All right. It's a little bit loud out there.
Okay. Does the time start when I start talking? Yes. Whoa, better go. Hello, my name is Sheila.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Graham, could you close the doors unless it's going to quiet down out there? Yeah, I know, but they can come in. The people that want to be in,
there are plenty of seats in here.
Yeah, there's plenty of seats, but we need to close the doors. We want to make sure we hear everybody. All right.
Okay. My name is Sheila Keller. I live on Wood Road. I'm here with Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. Yeah, I hear it's hard for people to hear. Okay, I understand that. I'm with Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. And as you heard from a number of people tonight, we're here after a month of distance from our first presentation. Just to say that we really need to see action soon. We know that it can take up to a year, in worst cases, hopefully, to pass a piece of legislation here. And waiting months to begin that process is time that people can't afford. People living in our community, people that probably we know, we love, we work with, we go to school with. And I guess I want to talk about the ripple effect of taking action or not taking action. I have a friend here who has let me speak about her story. She's undocumented and she lives in our community. When the raid on Cilantro happened, she immediately began to see more abuse from her employers. She saw wage theft. She saw people trying to say, let's make you salaried and instead just pay you basically less. You know, a salary was a way to get away with not actually paying her actual hours. She saw, you know, kind of talking to her in an abusive manner, but she had nowhere else to go because no one else will hire her. But this was a direct response from Cilantro's raid and the increase in the presence of ICE, not only in our community, but as we've seen everywhere. In Chicago, the National Guard, there's the threat of the National Guard here. We know the Supreme Court is now saying that it is okay to racially profile. And that has a rippling effect. And if we don't stand up, that also has a rippling effect. And so we're asking that you take action now, because every day that we don't, as everyone is repeating and is true, someone in our community is risking, their lives are at risk, literally their lives in many cases, to be deported back to places that they don't know, that they didn't grow up in, or that there's actual violence that they would face if they went back. And so we're pleading with you to take action now. As has been said, words are very valuable and meaningful. But as a council, we need you to take those first steps and take them quickly. We've got to combat what's in front of us, not just with words, but with action, or that will have a rippling effect. As I mentioned with my friend, you know, we're going to see an increase in all of these kind of violations if we don't take a stand as a city. This is the opportunity to do that. So thank you.
Last but certainly not least, James Williams.
Good evening, Council. So over the past 2 months, I have been in Texas because my 18-year-old son unfortunately passed away. He was in the Air Force and on leave, and he was involved in a motorcycle accident. So with that being said, my resolve to stay here and to stick this out and to continue to work and advocate for the citizens of Cleveland Heights and to just be here because I know that nothing during this time, it's a very hard time in that you never expect for someone to leave so soon and so suddenly. And so, you know, knowing that and, you know, taking account for how other people are, I definitely understand the need to stop the gun violence and to stop violence in general, because that's not where we should be at in our where we're at in our hearts or in our where we want to be at, period. With that said, I will be seeking the seat of the Tony Kuda, who's going to be possibly the interim mayor, whose seat is going to be up. So please, I'll be here. Thank you. And also, thanks for clapping. I know Ms. Russell has always talked about the diversity of putting people in our different committees that we need filled and not using the same people. So that's something that I will be looking forward to doing with many of the people that come in and out of this room as they talk, to get them to want to participate like I do in these committees that the council have available. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you, and thank you to all the speakers. We really appreciate that. Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we're not doing comments now, but I know we're transitioning legislation. Yep. And I just want to say thank you to all of the residents that came here tonight. This is probably one of the most difficult evenings I've had since I've been in office here. just based on the fact that we have so many different things happening in this community that we're dealing with together. And so I didn't simply want to go into the business of this legislation without acknowledging the heaviness that was brought into this room today. Our city is in a major state of transition, and I know there's a lot of nervousness and confusion and anger, but I appreciate that tonight, and I want you to know that there is a commitment from not just myself, but the members of this council and this staff to make sure that we engage with you, that we hear you, and that we make adjustments based on what you say in this room. And so I could not just go into this legislation and not acknowledge that over almost 40 people walked in here with a sense of anger and frustration about a myriad of issues. And so I simply just wanted to say that I know we're moving on to this legislation, but I want you to know that the people here in this dais hear you. And I don't know what exactly needs to happen, but I'm looking forward to more community engagement around this and moving the city forward. And I just didn't want us to move on with this legislation and not acknowledge the amount of pain and loss that was walked into this room and the amount of courage that it takes to speak. And that's all I want to say. And I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to stay through the rest of this meeting. But I want to apologize for walking out when many of you were speaking. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Councilman. You really captured the moment beautifully. I saw Farrell Thomas here, Christian's dad. Is he still here? And I saw my former student, Farrell Jr., and Sarah and Genesis, and I don't know everybody in the family, but I hear you. And there he is. Very good student. I'm so glad to see you. And we need to be, we need to hit Tommy's again, remember? We were talking about that, all right. We are gonna move on. Again, you're always welcome here, always welcome here. We always want you to come up and speak your mind. You've given us a lot to think about, as you always do. We appreciate you.
Well, you're a teacher, so, and I'm a therapist. I give homework all the time. In the spirit of both of our shared homework, right, type of things, we would like to hear those answers.
Sure.
And if it takes you all 2 weeks until we can come back into the, the first council meeting of the month, that's fine. But we will hear from you all. We want you on record what you're going to do, because you have no one to stand behind. And there's 2 people on this council right now that want to be the city's mayor. And yes, all of the myriad of things that everybody talked about is so very important. Christian lost his life.
That's right.
And we want to know what you all are going to do about your rogue police department. Hard stop. Hard stop. Because before anything else, they're killing people. People who pay taxes, people who pay the police's salaries. So whether it's 2 weeks from now or a phone call, we want to know what you're going to do.
Sarah, council comments are coming up very soon. We're just going to run through this legislation, and yeah, we'll go quickly. But thank you for that. These are first readings for consideration of adoption requested. Go ahead, Addie.
I have ordinance number 177-2025 on first reading, an ordinance to amend certain subparagraphs of ordinance number 011-2025 relating to appropriations and other expenditures of the city of Cleveland Heights, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
As I mentioned in the council meeting as a whole, I can't vote for this. I'm going to vote no.
Understood.
Until we get adequate financial reports, which from what I understand are in process, and I have confidence in the people that are doing them, but we just have to get that work done.
Understood. With that, why don't we do a roll call vote?
Cobb.
Aye.
Kuda.
Aye.
Larson. Aye. Maddox.
Aye.
Petrus.
Aye.
Posh.
No.
Russell.
Aye.
Next, I have resolution number 178-2025 on first reading, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. the motion
Next, I
passes.
have ordinance number 179-2025 on first reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver subdivision participation and release forms to participate in nationwide settlement agreements with opioid manufacturers Alvogen, Amneal, Apotex, Hikma, Indivior, Mylan, Sun, and Zydus to resolve opioid litigation, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Next, I have ordinance number 180-2025 on first reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver subdivision participation and release forms to participate in the direct settlement of claims concerning alleged misconduct related to opioids against Purdue Pharma LP and Sackler family, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Moved.
All right. It's been moved. It's seconded.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 181-2025 on first reading, a resolution authorizing a change order to the agreement with Game Time for the installation of a potable splash pad for Dennison Park, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Well, I'll just say yay. All in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
All right. Any opposed? All right. That motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 182-2025 on first reading, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with the Ohio Floor Company for the sanding and refinishing of the gym floor at the Cleveland Heights Community Center, and waiving competitive bidding, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 183-2025 on first reading, a resolution providing for a contribution in support of the 2025 Heights Halloween Fest and Candy Crawl, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Councilmember Petrus.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. A few weeks ago, I mentioned that 2 years ago, I was at this event. It was great to see so many people. I was really concerned that the road was not closed, and that there were initially plans to close it this year, but that those, for whatever reason, fell through. This evening, I learned that that decision has been reversed and that the street will be closed. I'm very grateful to the administration for that. So I think that it will be a much safer environment for the families who are there. Thank you.
That's terrific. Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion happily passes.
Next, I have ordinance number 187-2025 on first reading, an ordinance to amend certain subparagraphs of ordinance number 011-2025 relating to appropriations and other expenditures of the city of Cleveland Heights, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Next, I have ordinance number 188-2025 on first reading, an ordinance to amend certain, an ordinance to amend certain subparagraphs of ordinance number 011-2025 relating to appropriations and other expenditures of the city of Cleveland Heights, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 189-2025 on first reading, a resolution accepting a grant from the Ohio Department of Public Safety's official Office of Criminal Justice Services, Ohio Body-Worn Camera Grant Program, authorizing the use of grant funds, authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement with Motorola Solutions for body-worn cameras, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. First readings only.
I I have resolution number 184-2025 on first reading, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Cuyahoga County for funding through the HOME program for the city's affordable housing programs through December 31st, 2025, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Sarin.
I don't think I need to refer this to committee. I'm kind of looking at you, but I don't see any reason to do that. Okay, then we'll just go on to the consent agenda.
All right, I have two on consent agenda tonight. I have resolution number 185-2025 on first reading, a resolution recognizing October 2025 as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October 13th, 2025 as Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day, and October 17th, 2025 as National Mammography Day, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by all city council members. I also have resolution number 186-2025 on first reading, a resolution recognizing October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by all city council members.
All right, can I have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and then a motion for the adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. So let's move things around a little bit here because we have old business and new business and committee reports, and go right to council member comments. And then we can, by all means, shift gears to back to the committee reports and old and new business, because I know we're going to have a little bit of a lengthy discussion. Is that true? New business? Yeah. Okay, council member comments. Councilman Petrus, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to say that Mr. Roderick Rush was here earlier. Mr. Rush, if you're still here, I'm happy to talk after this meeting. If you are not still here, I will talk with the clerk to get your contact info so that we can talk at a later time. And to the Thomas family, Mr. Thomas, and the rest of the members of Christian's family, thank you for being here. I am always available to talk with you if you would like, if at any point you'd like to sit down and talk more about what you and your family have gone through since you were last here. I'm more than happy to do that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure. Any other? Yes, Councilwoman Larson.
This has been a very difficult meeting tonight because we have a lot of work to do, and I will do my best to be involved in that work. I think that we all need to understand that we need your help. We cannot do this without you, and we need your support, and we need you to reach out to any of us that you feel you need to communicate with and let us know what's on your mind. Then I do have something to say about a resignation we received this week that hit home. Todd Walburn, Mayor's Action Center coordinator, did an excellent job while he was here. He resigned, and it's another loss to the city. He did an excellent job responding, researching, and trying to resolve concerns that came to him via Access Cleveland Heights or directly into his email or via phone call. He worked with me on some complicated and frustrating cases where I was advocating for residents that they were having difficulty getting through the bureaucracy. I knew Todd would follow up periodically when something was taking too long or when I asked him what was happening with a particular case. I'm going to miss him, and I wish him well. I am also hurting for Christian Thomas's family this evening, and I hope that we can put together something that will help you understand that we think that there's something that council can be doing in collaboration with the mayor, whether it be the new interim mayor or the mayor in January. So a lot of hurt in this room this evening. And I'd also like to address the immigration activists. It hurts to see the cruelty that the current administration in DC is demonstrating to immigrants in this country in the name of immigration reform. I know how important the proposed legislation to provide funding and programming for legal assistance to those who live in Cleveland Heights who are affected by this cruelty. This legislation must be a collaborative effort between the mayor and council. Such a collaboration is very important if this program is to be successful, successfully staffed and funded. Therefore, I believe we need to work with the newly elected mayor after he or she is sworn in January. There may be work we can do beforehand, but that new mayor, we need buy-in from that mayor. And I've told the activists this, and I believe it in my heart, that for legislation like this to go forward, we need the support of the administration. I know how important it is to you who have spoken here tonight. I will not lose sight of your concern for those amongst us who are impacted by the actions of our federal government. Thank you for speaking out.
Thank you, Councilman Cobb.
Yeah, this has been a tough night. I know that Christian's family is looking to this city council for answers. I don't want it to appear as if we are uncaring, because we deeply care about what happened and about making this city better, and our police department being the best department in the state of Ohio. I think what we can say beyond offering condolences, and that we will look to address what happened that night, is limited because of the pending litigation. I know that sounds like a lawyer speaking, but I am a lawyer, so we have to be careful about what we say and do. But I want to assure you that we will do whatever is necessary to make sure that something like this does not happen again. That's all I have.
Thank you, Council. Other council comments?
I really appreciate everybody that's come out tonight. It's hard sitting up here as a relatively new council member and hear all this. And yeah, maybe it's easy to point fingers, point to dysfunction, but I mean, the reality is we have our work cut out for us. We have to figure out how we can solve some of these issues. So many of these are safety-related items that have come up tonight. And I'd like to open up the safety committee, use that as a vehicle for residents and for city to be as a bridge to possibly things and how to interact with the administration. For example, I do understand that Councilmember Larson and Councilmember Maddox offered to take on the immigration piece, there is some hurdles I think we need to go through. Maybe we can discuss those with some of the leaders on the immigration task force at our next safety committee meeting. Just so I think everybody sort of can help get on the same page, understand the timing, understand the things that, the challenges that we have to get stuff done, so they don't hear silence, but they can have a constructive dialogue with us much better than what we could have by, listening to, good people come to this microphone. So I'd like to offer that up. And that meeting is set for October 7th. I believe it's at 5 p.m. Now, there's possibly a conflict, I've heard tonight, because of the council. That'll be 6:30, so we'll have some time. But maybe we can roll up our sleeves and we can talk together, possibly get some stuff done and try to bring some consensus. And so you could interact with your council and people, and you also understand what our limits are. I mean, there's certain things that we can do and certain things that we just can't. And we could talk about those. You won't hear silence.
Thank you, Councilman. Vice President Russell.
I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. It's been hard sitting here. And a lot of you all probably don't know, and maybe the first time you've come to a council meeting because of the loss of your family member. But since I've been on council, I've been fighting for the areas and the dignity that you come here tonight for. I was the person who created the legislation along with Melody Hart and Mike Unger around the Social Justice Task Force, the only one that was created here in Cleveland Heights after the death of George Floyd. declaring racism as a health crisis. Out of that legislation became a task force to look at systemic racism within our schools, our police department, our housing, every aspect of Cleveland Heights. A report was given from that racial justice task force at the end of the year. I wanted to restart that racial justice task force and change it to a social justice task force to include not only racism, but to bring on the people in our whole community who have been hurt by people who do not understand the diversity of our community. I need you. It's easy to point your fingers, but I need you. I need your help. When George Floyd died, Anthony Maddox and I led the march around City Hall on that. I actually formed a task force where I spoke to the youth and had all of the police there to find out what we needed and what we could do to bring things together. Safety in our community is not about policing, it's about education. And I agree with you. I remember when the police used to live in our community, but the laws changed. And the law gave the police officers an opportunity to live wherever they want to live and work wherever they want to. That's something we can't change. But what I can change as your mayor, I can also create an opportunity where you have walking beat police officers that rotate within the community so you get to know who they are, so that they become part of the community and not someone who's just there every now and then. What we can do as the mayor, as we can create and open up that racial justice task force, and you can be a part of that, and you can have your voices heard when we move forward in making this city an equitable city, and the racism needs to stop. So it is not only what African American and Jews and gays and everyone else, we have to look at our community as a whole community. These are things I am telling you I will do. These are the things that I have been doing since I've been on council. I am not new to this. I live in your community. I walk that community. So I am here to help that community, but I'm also here to help all communities in Cleveland Heights. So if you stand with me, I will stand with you, but I can't do it alone. So I need, when you stand at that podium and that racial justice task force come open, I need you to be on that team. I need you to work with me, because this can't be, I point a finger at you and you point one back at me. I'm about bringing all of us together at the same table for shared ideals for real results. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Vice President. All right, so committee reports. Do we have any committee reports? Go ahead, Councilwoman Larson.
First of all, I want to express my condolences to the family of Bill Hanavan. He passed away September 4th. He was one of the founders of the Heights Tree People. It was an honor to know him and see him out in our community, planting trees in all sorts of locations, schools, libraries, other public spaces. He is missed by many in our city. On October 6th, we will be reading a resolution into the record honoring him and the legacy he leaves throughout our city. Thank you to the administration for kicking off the composting program at Dave's earlier today. I look forward to working with the administration to expanding this program citywide and proposing continued funding in the budget for 2026. We do have an opening on the Climate Environmental Sustainability Committee. Please apply if you're interested in working with 6 of your fellow citizens on the future of the climate and resilience plan for Cleveland Heights. I'm meeting with Director Klinkscale this Friday regarding the Complete and Green Streets revised legislation that has been produced by the Transportation and Mobility Committee. The Law Department is vetting the legislation, and the Planning and Development Department has had input on the revised legislation. We will also be discussing the possibility of including a sidewalk repair program in the 2026 budget. I'll be working with Addie to schedule October meetings, the Finance Committee, and Municipal Services and Environmental Sustainability.
Any other committee reports? Go ahead, Councilman.
Yes, I've received some emails from persons that have applied to our boards and commissions wondering what's going on. We have fallen a little bit behind in terms of screening all of the applicants and then having a discussion about them in executive session. We were able to make some progress tonight, so please be patient. We have had over 70 applications that we've had to go through and talk about people. So we are working to fill these openings. You just heard about another opening for the Climate and Environmental Sustainability Committee. There was a prior opening that we do hope to fill. We discussed that tonight. So please be patient, and we will let people know if you weren't selected by mid-October about what's going on. And we do keep your applications on file and try to fill vacancies from the applications that we do have. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Vice President Russell?
Yes, I'm going to try to schedule a planning and development committee meeting on Thursday, the 18th of September, if my committee members have availability. If not, I will get with Addie to reschedule that. Also, I want to bring.
What time would that be?
10?
I'm available.
10:30? Okay, thank you. We will look at the.
No, I'm available.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. So then we will move forward with some the legislation that was there and talk over some other things regarding the Merchants Association. I wanted to report we had a Planning and Development Committee meeting last Thursday. And it was very exciting to move forward with trying to get a Merchants Association. We had talked about it for about 3 or 4 committee meetings, trying to get the Noble area and the Taylor Area Association where they're able to talk to the administration, just like the SIDS are in the other communities. Every business district needs to have a voice to be able to bring their concerns to the administration office. We have decided to, I believe in the committee, to allocate, the mayor was very helpful. I'd like to thank him on that as well. He was going to actually allocate the funds, doing a budget adjustment for $318,000 for the Noble Merchants Association so they can get started. I was able to get $10,000 from the county to get them to have their 501c3. And so I want to discuss this with the rest of council and my committee, and the law department, I believe, is going to start putting together the legislation, and hopefully it'll be ready for us to vote on sometime at the next council meeting.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
And if I might, on that note, look forward to talking with the council vice president about the Noble Area Business Association. And I just wanted to be real clear that at least in the law department, there were no shenanigans at work between Thursday and today. There was no stonewalling. There was no corruption. We have a deadline, as you said, of 10 days before the council meeting. Actually, it's more like 12. But deadlines are what they are. And so whenever things come in late, often, and we deal with that, and we try to get things to move forward and have legislation and meet council's requests. This one is more complex, and it came in the day before the packet went out. We have to prepare a contract to delineate the public policy purpose of the expenditure and to describe with particularity the activities that the association is going to carry out, et cetera. And there just simply wasn't time to do that. And I reached out to the council vice president on Thursday and Friday to relay that message, and to Ms. Orenstein as well. And it's unfortunate that that got confusing because it's really just a question of time and substance. There's a lot to be worked through. We will work hard to get it done, but it never came to the law department before September 11th, the day before the packet.
All right, well, thank you for that. Any old business, new business? All right, well, then I'll just, I guess, do my council president report, and we'll call it a day. So, yeah, this could be my last council president report. My God, I didn't even think about that. First of all, to the Thomas family, I'm I mean, our heart goes out to the whole family. This is unconscionable. It's a tragedy. I will be meeting with them when I switch jobs after October 1st. I'm going to read a statement I made a few days ago that I didn't make it to the general public, but last Tuesday, the voters of Cleveland Heights spoke with clarity about their desire for a change at City Hall. And today, I want to give you just a little overview of what that change will look like in the time that I'm here. The mayor and I have been in communication, and we are in the process of setting up our first transition meeting. He's agreed to do that. He's agreed to allow me to meet with directors individually, which will go a long way to me getting ready for this change. I want to be clear. This is not a time to chart a new direction for the city. I mean, that's not what I'm going to be doing. Instead, in the few months I'll occupy the office of mayor, my goal is simply to steady the ship and help this city find its footing. I have four pretty equally important priorities. The first is to ensure the safety and welfare of our residents in the community. Correspondingly, I want people who work in our police, fire, and service departments to know that I will treat them with the respect and professionalism they deserve. Second, I want to make certain that the more than 400 individuals who work for this city know that I appreciate their efforts and respect their work and the residents and the work they do for the residents of Cleveland Heights, and I'm here to support our staff. Third, I will work cooperatively with our directors and city council to draft a budget that is fiscally responsible and reflects the priorities of our city while leaving room for our next mayor, whoever that may be, and their priorities for 2026 and beyond. And finally, I intend to give access to senior city staff to our newly elected mayor so that they will be able to hit the ground running on day one. So between November 4th and December 31st, I want to make sure that if there are any problems that can be straightened out during the short time that I'm there, that it'll be my pleasure to aid in that effort. But I want you to know, again, the two candidates for mayor, that you will have access before you take office. The problems that we've all experienced over the past 4 years weren't driven by the change in our form of government. I want to be adamant about that. Our problems instead were really due to a lack of cooperation, communication, and collaboration. And I want the residents of this community to know that stops now. So let's turn the page, recommit ourselves to working together, and dedicate these next 3 months to putting our city on a new path forward that prioritizes the well-being of our entire community. And with that, this meeting is adjourned at 9:53.